Your body already knows they are coming back. And the unsettling part is this: you felt it long before you had any reason to believe it. Not because you're hoping, not because you're waiting, but because something deeper than logic has already recognized their return. There is a language within you that does not use words. It does not argue. It does not explain. It does not seek permission from your conscious mind. It simply knows. The body often registers reality before the mind has time to construct a narrative around it. Long before conscious thought begins analyzing a person or a situation, the nervous system has already processed subtle cues, tone of voice, micro-expressions, energy shifts, even silence. This happens because the body operates through deeply embedded survival and relational mechanisms that evolve to detect patterns instantly. It does not wait for logical confirmation. It reacts to resonance, familiarity, and emotional significance. When you encounter someone who leaves a lasting imprint, the body encodes that experience in a way that goes beyond memory as we usually understand it. It becomes a kind of internal reference point. Later, even in their absence, similar emotional frequencies or internal states can reactivate that imprint. This is why certain people are not just remembered intellectually but felt physically, as if their presence still exists somewhere within your system. The mind, on the other hand, is slower and often skeptical. It tries to interpret, question, and sometimes dismiss what the body has already recognized. It looks for evidence, for logic, for reasons that fit within a structured framework. But the body does not rely on such frameworks. It recognizes patterns of connection, tension, and familiarity at a level that predates conscious reasoning. This creates a gap between what you feel and what you can explain. You may sense that someone is significant, that something about them is unfinished or returning, even when there is no external proof. That sensation is not constructed by deliberate thought. It emerges spontaneously, often catching you off guard. In this way, the body acts as an early detection system for emotional truth, signaling what matters before the mind has the language to define it. Emotional memory is not confined to thoughts or images stored in the mind. It is embedded throughout the body as patterns of sensation, posture, and physiological response. When a significant experience occurs, especially one charged with strong feeling, the brain does not simply file it away as a neutral record. Instead, it distributes that experience across the nervous system, linking it to bodily states such as tension, warmth, heaviness, or ease. Over time, these states become part of how the body remembers, even when the conscious mind is not actively recalling the event. This is why certain emotions seem to appear without a clear mental trigger. A place, a scent, a tone of voice, or even a quiet moment can activate a stored pattern, and the body responds instantly. The heart rate may shift, breathing may change, muscles may tighten or relax. These reactions are not random. They are the body reactivating an encoded experience. In many cases, the body recalls the feeling before the mind retrieves the associated memory, creating a sense of familiarity that is difficult to explain. When it comes to deep connections with other people, this process becomes even more pronounced. Interactions that carry emotional intensity are stored not only as memories of what happened, but as lived physical states. The body remembers how it felt to be in their presence, how it responded to their energy, how it adjusted itself in subtle ways. Later, even in their absence, similar internal states can re-emerge, almost as if the body is replaying that connection from within. Because of this, emotional memory can persist even when the mind tries to move on or reinterpret the past. The body does not revise its records easily. It continues to hold on to what was experienced directly, maintaining a form of memory that is less about narrative and more about sensation and response. The unconscious operates as a vast pattern recognition system that continuously scans for familiarity beneath conscious awareness. It does not evaluate people through deliberate reasoning or surface-level traits alone. Instead, it responds to deeper configurations, emotional tone, behavioral rhythms, and symbolic resonance that mirror past experiences. When someone enters your life who aligns with these internal patterns, the unconscious registers them immediately, often before you can articulate why they feel significant. These patterns are shaped over time through early relationships, formative encounters, and unresolved emotional material. They form templates that influence what feels safe, intriguing, or meaningful. When another person reflects or activates one of these templates, the unconscious interprets it as recognition rather than novelty. This is why certain connections feel instantly familiar, as if they are not entirely new but part of something already known at a deeper level. The recognition is not always comfortable or positive. The unconscious does not distinguish between what is beneficial and what is merely familiar. It is drawn toward what matches its existing structures, even if those structures include unresolved tensions or incomplete emotional cycles. As a result, you may feel a strong pull towards someone without understanding whether that pull is rooted in growth, repetition, or unfinished psychological material. This recognition expresses itself through subtle but powerful signals, an unexplainable sense of closeness, heightened awareness of their presence, or a lingering focus that persists beyond ordinary interaction. The conscious mind may attempt to rationalize these reactions, but it is often responding after the fact, trying to interpret what the unconscious has already identified. In this way, the unconscious functions as a silent guide, directing attention toward individuals who resonate with internal patterns, shaping connections not through deliberate choice alone, but through deep, often hidden recognition. Separation at the surface level, distance, silence, or even a formal ending does not automatically dissolve a bond that has been established at a deeper psychological level. When a connection reaches into the unconscious, it becomes structured within the psyche as more than a temporary interaction. It forms associations, emotional pathways, and internal representations that continue to exist independently of external contact. The mind may interpret separation as a clear endpoint, especially when circumstances suggest closure. However, the deeper layers of the psyche do not operate according to visible events alone. They retain what has been experienced with intensity, particularly when the connection involved strong emotional exchange, mutual recognition, or unresolved meaning. These elements anchor the bond internally, allowing it to persist even when the external relationship appears to have ended. This persistence often reveals itself through recurring thoughts, spontaneous emotional responses, or a subtle sense that the connection is still active beneath the surface. It is not merely a habit of thinking about someone. It is the continuation of a psychological link that has not fully completed its process. The psyche tends to revisit what remains unfinished, not out of weakness, but as part of its natural movement toward integration and understanding. Time and distance can reduce the frequency of conscious recall, but they do not necessarily dismantle the underlying structure of the bond. The internal representation of the other person continues to exist, shaped by memory, emotion, and symbolic meaning. This is why certain connections can re-emerge with intensity even after long periods of absence, as if the intervening time did not fully erase their impact. The endurance of such bonds reflects the difference between external separation and internal continuity, where the psyche maintains connections that have not yet reached psychological completion. Intuition often presents itself through the body long before it becomes a clear thought in the mind. It is not a structured process of reasoning, but a rapid, integrated form of perception that draws from accumulated experience, memory, and subtle environmental cues. Because it bypasses deliberate analysis, It frequently manifests as physical sensation, tightness in the chest, a shift in breathing, a sudden calm, or an unexplained restlessness. These sensations are the body's way of signaling that something has been registered beneath conscious awareness. The nervous system plays a central role in this process. It continuously evaluates patterns in tone, behavior, timing, and emotional consistency. When it detects something significant, whether opportunity, danger, familiarity, or emotional relevance, it produces physiological responses before the conscious mind can construct meaning. This is why intuition can feel immediate and undeniable, even when there is no logical explanation available at that moment. These bodily signals are not random reactions. They are the result of rapid subconscious integration. The brain processes vast amounts of information outside of awareness and compresses it into a felt sense. That felt sense is then experienced as intuition. It carries a quality of certainty or warning, not because it is infallible, but because it is based on pattern recognition that operates faster than language or reasoning. In relational contexts, intuition becomes even more pronounced. The body may react to subtle emotional shifts in another person, sensing alignment or dissonance before words are spoken or intentions are clarified. This creates the experience of just knowing something about a situation or individual without being able to logically justify it. Because intuition is embodied, it often communicates in ambiguity rather than direct statements. It does not say what is happening, it indicates that something is happening. The interpretation of that signal comes later through reflection, but the initial awareness always begins as a physical and emotional response within the body. The psyche is not structured as a linear system that simply records experiences and then moves on. It is more accurately understood as a dynamic field that seeks coherence, meaning, and psychological wholeness. When a meaningful connection is formed, especially one that carries emotional depth or unresolved intensity, it becomes part of this internal structure. If that connection is interrupted or left incomplete, the psyche does not fully disengage from it. Instead, it retains the pattern and continues to work around it. This tendency toward completion is not conscious decision-making. It operates through unconscious repetition, emotional revisiting, and symbolic reactivation in dreams, thoughts, and feelings. The psyche revisits experiences that feel unfinished because they represent unresolved internal material. This can include unspoken emotions, unclear endings, or relationships that carried significant psychological charge without full integration or closure. When such a connection exists, the mind may try to move forward logically, but the deeper layers continue to reference it. This creates a sense of recurrence. Memories resurface, emotional states reappear, and similar relational patterns may be drawn into your life. These repetitions are not random. They are expressions of the psyche's effort to resolve what remains fragmented or incomplete. Completion, in this sense, is not always about reconnecting with the other person physically or externally. It can also involve internal resolution, understanding the emotional significance of the connection, integrating the experience, and releasing its unresolved tension within the psyche. Until that process occurs, the psychological system may continue to generate signals that keep the connection psychologically alive. This is why certain relationships feel as though they carry a lasting imprint. The psyche does not easily discard what has not been fully processed. It continues to move around it, attempting to bring the experience into a state of internal resolution and coherence. Dreams and sudden inner impulses often function as indirect communication from deeper layers of the psyche where unprocessed material is stored and reorganized. Unlike waking thought, which follows logic and language, Dreams operate through symbols, emotions, and fragmented narratives. They do not present information in a literal form. Instead, they compress psychological experiences into imagery and scenarios that reflect underlying emotional realities. When a connection or experience remains unresolved, it does not simply disappear from the internal system. It continues to be processed beneath conscious awareness. Dreams become one of the primary spaces where this processing occurs. A person from the past may appear repeatedly, not as a memory in the ordinary sense, but as a symbolic representation of unfinished emotional energy. The mind is not necessarily recalling the person themselves, but rather re-encountering what they represent internally. These dream appearances often carry emotional intensity that feels real upon waking. The sensations linger because the nervous system reacts to them as if they are actual experiences. This creates a bridge between unconscious processing and conscious awareness, allowing hidden attachments, fears, or unresolved feelings to surface in symbolic form. Similarly, sudden impulses during waking life, such as the urge to think about someone unexpectedly or to revisit a memory without clear reason, are not random. They often arise from the same underlying process. The psyche, working beneath awareness, brings certain contents to the surface when they require attention or integration. These impulses act like signals, indicating that something internally remains active rather than settled. The unconscious uses repetition in both dreams and impulses to draw attention to what has not yet been fully understood or integrated. This is not about prediction or external fate, but about internal psychological movement, where the mind continues to revisit emotional material until it reaches a state of resolution or meaning-making within the individual system. The nervous system is constantly engaged in interpreting and preparing responses to both immediate and anticipated experiences. It does not only react to what is physically present in the moment, it also simulates potential future scenarios based on memory, emotional associations, and pattern recognition. When a person has had a significant emotional connection with someone, the nervous system retains a detailed internal model of that interaction, including how it felt, how the body responded, and what emotional states were activated. Because of this internal modeling, the body can enter a state of anticipation even in the absence of direct external cues. This anticipation is not conscious prediction. It is a physiological readiness shaped by past emotional experience. When subtle triggers arise, such as a familiar thought pattern, a similar emotional tone, or an internal association, the nervous system can react as if the anticipated person or situation is near or about to reappear. This response often manifests physically. There may be changes in heart rate, breathing patterns, muscle tension, or a general sense of alertness. These reactions occur because the autonomic nervous system is preparing for a potential interaction that it has learned to recognize as significant. It is essentially rehearsing a familiar emotional experience based on stored memory patterns. What makes this process particularly powerful is that it operates below conscious awareness. The mind may not be actively thinking about the person, yet the body still responds as though their presence is imminent. This creates a feeling of unexplained expectation or internal tension, as if something unresolved is moving toward reactivation. In this way, anticipation becomes a physiological echo of past emotional intensity. The nervous system does not distinguish clearly between memory and immediate reality when patterns are strongly encoded. It simply prepares for what it has learned to recognize as meaningful or impactful, creating a state where the body feels aligned with a future that the conscious mind has not yet logically confirmed. Inner knowing operates at a level beneath structured thought, where perception is not filtered through logic, but through accumulated experience, emotional imprinting, and unconscious pattern recognition. It emerges as a direct sense of certainty or orientation that does not depend on external validation. Unlike reasoning, which builds conclusions step by step, inner knowing arrives as a whole impression, often fully formed, even when the mind cannot justify it. This form of awareness develops from the integration of countless subtle observations stored in the psyche over time. The mind continuously absorbs cues from relationships, environments, and emotional interactions, most of which never reach conscious attention. These impressions are processed in the background and synthesized into an internal reference system. When a current situation aligns with this deeper system, the response appears instantly as a knowing rather than a thought. Because it bypasses analytical steps, inner knowing often feels quiet yet firm. It does not argue or insist, it simply presents itself as a settled sense of reality. However, the conscious mind may struggle with it because it lacks visible evidence or linear explanation. This creates a tension between what is felt internally and what can be rationally defended externally. In relational or emotional contexts, this knowing can become especially pronounced. A person may feel an unexplainable certainty about someone's significance, direction, or return, even without concrete signals. This is not prediction in a literal sense, but recognition of patterns that the psyche has already processed below awareness. The strength of inner knowing lies in its immediacy and coherence. It integrates emotional memory, sensory impressions, and unconscious evaluation into a unified response. While it is not infallible, it often points toward deeper psychological truths that have not yet been articulated by conscious thought, creating a sense of clarity that precedes explanation and sometimes challenges logical interpretation itself. The body resists closure when an experience has not been fully processed at a psychological and emotional level. Closure is often treated as a cognitive decision, something the mind can declare when circumstances appear to be finished. However, the deeper systems of the psyche do not respond to external conclusions alone. They respond to whether the emotional energy of an experience has been integrated, understood, and metabolized internally. If this process remains incomplete, the body continues to hold the state as active. This resistance shows itself through persistent emotional activation. Even when a situation is logically over, the nervous system may still respond as if it is unresolved. Thoughts may return without invitation, emotional states may reappear unexpectedly, and physical sensations connected to the experience may continue to surface. These reactions are not deliberate. They are signs that the system has not fully transitioned out of that relational or emotional configuration. The body encodes significant experiences not just as memories, but as patterns of physiological response. When something meaningful occurs, it is stored as a combination of emotional tone and bodily state. If that experience ends without resolution, the encoded pattern remains active in the background. The system does not simply erase it because a conclusion has been declared externally. Instead, it continues to reference it as unfinished data. This is why attempts at forced closure often feel unsatisfying. The mind may decide to move on, but the body does not immediately follow. It continues to react according to what has been internally registered as unresolved. This creates a subtle dissonance between cognitive understanding and somatic experience. Over time, the psyche seeks to resolve this tension by revisiting the emotional material in various forms: memory, sensation, dream, or reflection. Until the underlying emotional charge is fully integrated, the body maintains a form of internal alertness toward the experience, preventing it from being completely archived as finished within the system itself. Synchronicity refers to the experience of meaningful coincidence. where external events appear to align with internal psychological states in a way that feels significant rather than random. It is not based on a causal relationship in the ordinary sense, but on the perception of connection between inner experience and outer reality. When someone is emotionally or psychologically preoccupied with a person or situation, the mind becomes highly attuned to related patterns in the environment, increasing the likelihood of noticing links that reinforce that internal focus. From a psychological perspective, this happens because attention is selective and guided by emotional intensity. The psyche prioritizes information that matches its current internal state, filtering perception accordingly. As a result, unrelated external events may be experienced as connected simply because they resonate with what is already active within the individual. This creates the feeling that the outer world is responding to inner conditions. When emotional bonds are strong or unresolved, this effect becomes more pronounced. The mind searches for coherence between internal feelings and external reality. And when it encounters symbolic overlaps, such as names, timing, repeated themes, or chance encounters, it interprets them as meaningful signals. These moments can feel striking because they appear to bridge inner emotional experience with external confirmation. The sense of significance arises not because the events are objectively linked, but because they align with existing psychological material. The unconscious assigns emotional weight to these alignments, giving them a feeling of deeper meaning or pattern. This can reinforce the belief that something is unfolding beyond ordinary coincidence, especially when the individual is already emotionally invested in a particular expectation or connection. In this way, synchronicity reflects the interaction between internal psychological states and external perception, where meaning is constructed through resonance between what is felt inside and what is noticed outside, creating experiences that feel connected even in the absence of direct causal linkage between events themselves. Certain psychological imprints formed through emotionally significant experiences do not remain confined to memory in a simple, static form. Instead, they become integrated into the deeper structure of the psyche, influencing perception, emotional responses, and relational expectations over time. These imprints are not just recollections of events. They are internalized patterns shaped by the intensity, meaning, and emotional charge of a connection. Once formed, they tend to persist because they are embedded within the way the mind organizes experience itself. When a connection is particularly impactful, it leaves behind a layered imprint that includes emotional tone, bodily sensation, and unconscious associations. This means that even in the absence of the person or situation, the internal system retains a kind of living reference to it. The psyche does not treat such experiences as finished data. It continues to integrate and reinterpret them as part of ongoing psychological development. Because these imprints exist beyond conscious control, they can influence perception long after the external relationship has ended. A person may find themselves reacting to unrelated situations in ways that reflect earlier emotional experiences as the underlying pattern continues to shape interpretation. This is not intentional repetition, but an automatic continuation of how the psyche organizes meaning based on past depth of impact. Time and distance do not erase these imprints easily because they are not stored as isolated memories, but as integrated parts of emotional identity. They can resurface through triggers, dreams, or sudden emotional states, revealing that the experience is still active within the internal system. In some cases, these imprints create a sense of continuity, as if the emotional connection still exists in an abstract or internal form, even when external contact has ended. This persistence reflects how deeply human experience can be encoded, where certain connections become part of the psychological framework itself rather than remaining as separate, closed events in personal history.